Hello everybody, I'm Tanya Rich and this is another episode of Tanya Talks. Today I'm not going to be talking about things about voiceover or our very strange industry. I'm actually going to talk to somebody who probably understands me better than a lot of you do, because just like me, she has a condition called psoriatic arthropathy, or psoriatic arthritis if you like. It's a bit like rheumatoid arthritis, but slightly worse. And we'll tell you why later. She is huge on Instagram. You probably have seen her, the psoriatic arthritis warrior. She is a warrior, as are we all, that continue daily lives by getting out of bed and making ourselves do something when we can. And that's why I wanted to interview her today. So I'll shut up just to tell you, though, that for most of my life, actually, since I was 14, I'm not going to tell you how old I am now, I have had psoriatic arthropathy before all the good drugs came out. So I'm kind of old kind of school psoriatic arthritis, and Emily's new school, newish. We'll find out more. Emily Hertzberg, thank you so much for joining me today on Tanya Talks.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So we're here because we both look fabulous, but actually it's just a front, isn't it?
100%. Most days we look great, but deep down inside, we are hiding the fact that we are in excruciating pain and agony, and most of the time we are exhausted every single day.
Yeah. The exhaustion, the fatigue is off the scale, and it's something that they can't seem to get a handle on, doctors, at all, can they?
No, and the worst part is the treatments we're on also cause us fatigue and exhaustion. Yeah. So as soon as you do your treatment, it's like you're a zombie for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And then
exactly.
Once that wears off, you feel a lot better, but you're a zombie in the meantime.
Yeah, you feel better and then you push it and then you feel worse, because we're not
Yes.
supposed to do that. We're supposed to do this. We're supposed to do a little bit, go back to bed. Do a little bit, go back to bed. I've never done that in my life.
Nope.
I don't think you have. We're not professional ill people, you see. Although I suppose we are in a weird way. But anyway, tell me, you don't have to tell me how old you are now, but how many years have you had psoriatic arthropathy? And did you have the skin disease first?
So I had psoriasis as a kid in my scalp, and then it kind of disappeared for a little while. And then in my early 20s, I noticed that I had a lot of joint pain and inflammation. I was a really active kid. I played soccer, I did dance. In college, I played rugby. And then I noticed that I woke up one day and I couldn't move. And my left elbow hurt, my knee hurt. So I went to like an orthopedic doctor, and they thought I had like tennis elbow or like sports injuries because I played so many sports. And he just tried to like basically give me an anti-inflammatory and brushed me off. And then the pain just got worse, and I said to myself, I have to go to like a rheumatologist, I think. So at the time, my father had a great rheumatologist. I went there, and they're like, oh, you have psoriatic arthritis. And I'm like, what is that? I was like 21 years old, in the prime of my life, just graduating college, ready to start a job. And it was like, oh, you have psoriatic arthritis. And I'm like, that's a made up condition, right? Because it sounds ridiculous. Psoriasis and arthritis. I literally thought my doctor made it up when I first heard the words, because I was so young. There was no information out. There was really no treatment options except like Humira, methotrexate, and sulfasalazine. And I had to choose, one of the three to start. And I was so scared. I remember being so afraid, so alone, so isolated. I didn't know anyone who had this condition. So I decided to start up the Instagram like 2 or 3 years later after I got diagnosed, because I thought to myself, if I'm going through this, there must be so many other people going through this, and they don't know what to do or where to begin or who to talk to. So I just felt like I needed to share my story right from the get-go, in order to really help people not feel alone. And I'm 41 now, and I've had this, over 20 years. And I feel like you said, we are professionals in this medical field. We know more than the doctors do. We know our own bodies. We know what works best for us. So I always stress to people, as soon as you get diagnosed, you need to advocate for yourself. Find a team of doctors that really work for you, not against you, that listen to you. And really don't gaslight you and don't brush you off and take you seriously. And I think it's super important, no matter what age you're getting diagnosed, whether you're young or old, to really not lose hope. And if one treatment doesn't work, find another one that works. And
Yep.
and try not to get too discouraged, because and I know we have tried so many different treatment options the last 20, 30 years. It's like And there's so many options now, which is
There
great.
is now.
Yes, but
Yeah.
back then, you and
But,
I, we had nothing to choose
yeah, but
from.
you see, you were lucky because you say that and you're right. But 21 years ago, you had the option of Humira and methotrexate. When I was
Yes.
diagnosed, it wasn't there. We didn't have that option.
What did
This
you
is
start with?
indomethacin.
I never heard of that.
It's Indocid. It's an anti-inflammatory, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
So I got psoriasis of the skin at the age of 5.
Wow.
And then by the age of 20, that had gone. But at the age of 14, I got the arthritis. Never heard of it, just like yourself. I'd heard of rheumatoid. I thought old people got it, you know how we do.
Yes.
And they said, no, it's caused me psoriasis, you see. And so it's like, okay, so what's going to happen? So mine started in my right knee. And as you also know, that it doesn't go in a pattern. I
No.
went right knee, then I went left knee, right elbow, jaw, oh, you name it. Everything's all over. And of course, it affects the tendons, doesn't it? It affects the tendons. It affects all kinds of parts that normal rheumatoid doesn't. So for me, they put me on a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory for years with nothing to protect my gut. No
Wow.
omeprazole, no lansoprazole, nothing. And then eventually methotrexate was discovered to help. So I was put on a high dose of methotrexate, and of course, I remember the first few months I was on that, sickness, a chest infection. And at that time,
Yes.
they didn't say, oh, it's making you immunosuppressed and compromised. And then when it first came out, I think Humira was the first one that came out, one of the MABs. And if you don't know what a MAB is, and I can never say their name properly. It's terrible for a voiceover, really. But they've all got a MAB at the end or a MUB. And they are anti-TNF cell inhibitors. So TNF
Yes.
cells are things that attack us, and we have to stop it. And you have to have a chest and X-rays check you haven't had TB. If you had TB, you can't have it.
Yes.
And when in the NHS in England, when I was on it, it was very new. And so they said, okay, you can carry on. We want you to carry on taking methotrexate and a Humira. And so they made me sign a document, a waiver that said, this is very unusual in England, to say that I accepted the fact that it could give me lymphoma, it could give me
Yes.
MS, it could give me a couple of other horrible things. Was I prepared to take the risk? And it's like, well, I couldn't do anything. My joints, I was having to have cortisone injections. And I don't know about you, but my first cortisone injections were done by people pretending to be doctors. I mean, practicing. I mean,
Oh, wow.
junior doctors. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And so, they'd get an injection, they'd hit the bone. And of course, as they suck the fluid out, it really hurts. And I got to a stage when I only had to see a needle near my knee and I would just pass out. Whereas I've got
Yes.
tattoos, you can inject every part of my hands. I've had all my hands on my neck. I have to have my head injected because I get occipital neuralgia as a result of everything. And so I'm not frightened, it's just my knees. And so I went on a Humira. Oh my goodness, it changed my life. After the
Yep.
first year of being constantly ill with chest infection after chest infection, with pneumonia, with whooping cough, for goodness sake, how goth can you get? I settled down. And I'll come back to what happened after I thought my life had changed because, of course, life gets in the way of life.
Yes.
So you started on what? Did you go on pills? Did you go on the injections? What did you do?
So I started on sulfasalazine,
Yes.
which literally did nothing
Nothing.
for
Did you do
me.
azathioprine as well?
They gave me prednisone, which is a
Oh,
steroid.
okay. Yeah.
Prednisone is the devil. It
It is.
bloats you. You have water retention. It's horrible for your heart. Um, I would get these heart palpitations. I'd be sweating. I would be hungry all the time. I gained probably 50, 60 pounds on steroids. And I was
God.
on them for 2 years because my psoriatic arthritis was really aggressive at the time, in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling, so frustrated and alone. And then I started the Humira. The Humira worked for like a year and a half. And then all of a sudden, I developed cellulitis. And both of
Oh,
my arms swelled up with a purplish, I'll never forget it, almost the color of your hair, my skin looked like a purplish, like reddish
that's
rash. And
terrifying.
my skin literally, I was in the hospital for a week. They thought I like had staph or MRSA. The infectious disease doctors are looking at me, trying to study me. And I said to them, I go, I think that this is an allergic reaction to Humira. And my doctor at the time was like, no, this is just something else. And he had no idea that the Humira caused this allergic reaction to me. And I go, you're not my doctor anymore. Because if you're diagnosing me and giving me these medications and not even knowing what the side effects are, how could you treat me anymore? So I got rid of him. I overcame the Humira reaction. I kind of stopped everything for a little while, wanted my body to calm down, found a great new rheumatologist. And then I started on, what was the next one I tried? I think I tried Remicade next,
Okay.
which was the IV infusion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did that for maybe 3 or 4 months, and then the same rash started to develop on my arms again.
Interesting.
So my doctor immediately was like, all right, no more Remicade. So after the Humira and the Remicade and the steroids and the sulfasalazine, we moved next to a different kind of medication, which is called, no, we did methotrexate next, which almost killed me.
Which I'm
Uh,
surprised because methotrexate compared to Humira is like baby stuff.
so here's what happened with methotrexate. I was on a super low dose.
Mm.
I was on it for like a year. I was okay. And then like after a year, I started to notice I was having these episodes where my vision was going completely blank. I would be driving and all of a sudden I couldn't see
Oh
anything and I would have to pull over.
my goodness.
So, long story short, I go to a neuro-ophthalmologist because a regular eye doctor's like, you have severe swelling of your optic nerves. You have papilledema, which is an ultra rare side effect of methotrexate. Who knew? So I go to this neuro-ophthalmologist and he's basically like, well, you have severe swelling of your optic nerves and you probably have swelling on your brain. I need you to see a neurologist.
Oh, God.
So I go see a neurologist thinking, maybe I have a brain tumor or something crazy like that. He puts me on diuretics. I go in for a spinal tap, which I've never had before in my life.
Would you
Why
recommend
not?
it?
Let's
Would you
let's
recommend
let's
the spinal
just
tap?
no, I would not recommend a
Yeah,
spinal tap
very
because
long
let's be
needle.
real. When you have arthritis, I didn't know I had arthritis in my spine until they went to do the spinal tap and they couldn't get the needle into my spine because all of my discs are fused at the bottom. So they're trying to go in like the L6, L7, and they're like, okay, we got to go a little bit higher because
Oh, how
all of
terrifying.
her vertebrae are fused. So I'm like, oh, this is great. So, they're poking, prodding, whatever. Long story short, they go in and do the spinal tap, and like my opening pressure was off the charts. Like I was getting these headaches. I was dizzy all the time. My vision was going. So they're like, whatever medication you're on, you need to stop. So basically, I had to be off the methotrexate almost a year before I could start something else because they had to bring down all of the inflammation in my body.
God.
Like I couldn't see, like I had these horrible headaches and I was so scared to try something else after the methotrexate. So then
Yeah,
after the
yeah.
methotrexate, I said to my doctor, look, I want something that has, not such harsh side effects. I want to try something that's a little bit, different kind of a biologic. So she recommended, Otezla, which was like a pill at the time. So I started taking that. That did nothing for my arthritis. It cleared my psoriasis up, and then my stomach was killing me. Otezla only really takes care of the skin part. So she's like, all right, we'll stop that. I did that for like 3 or 4 months. And then she's like, you know what? Let's try Cimzia.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, sounds good to me. 2 injections once a month. So this was actually like right before COVID hit. So I started the Cimzia and it started working great for me. I felt amazing. Like new lease on life. I wasn't having my knee drained like all the time. Like I literally had my left knee drained probably, I don't know, 17 times in my life already.
Yeah, I mean,
And my
so
right knee maybe
awful.
like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And, I was doing the Cimzia and then COVID hits. Luckily, I had a plethora of Cimzia in my fridge. I was able to inject myself, reconstitute it, inject it myself. I became a pro at injections. I'm
When
sure
you
you know
say
this. Like,
well, we have the pens here.
yes, now it's
Now
funny
they have
because
the pen, do
now
they? Okay.
now I've tried other medications that are already mixed, which is great. So I did Cimzia for like 5, 6 years, and then all of a sudden it stopped working. And I literally wanted to cry because I loved Cimzia so much. I had like no side effects. Once in a while, I would get a cold or an upper respiratory infection because I'm an art teacher. I teach 450 kids a week, fifth
Germ
grade
magnet.
art. And I've been doing that for 20 years and I love it. Like, I love my job. But at the same time, I'm around germs all day long. And, we're on these immunosuppressing medications. We basically shouldn't even be around people, let alone kids. You know what I mean? Like,
I do know
we
what
should
you
just be in
mean.
bubbles. We should be in like these little cute bubbles that
Yep.
protect us from everything in the world. And, you know, after the Cimzia stopped working and, I had a couple of flare ups, had my knee drained, I said to my doctor, all right, I'm really scared to try another biologic because I loved the Cimzia. So she recommended that I try, what did I try next? I think it was Talks.
Oh, I don't know
So
them.
Taltz is like, it's a TNF blocker. I think it's an IL-17 or an IL-23 inhibitor. So I started doing the Taltz, which was just an injection in my leg
Yeah.
every 4 weeks.
Oh, 4
And I
weeks.
started to notice I was having a reaction. I was having injection site reactions, like really bad. Like I
All
would get
right.
a mound on my leg that was burning hot and itchy and red and so angry. And I said to her, "Is this normal?" She's like, "No, you're probably allergic to the Taltz." So after the Taltz, she tried Tremfya, which is a really painful self-injector. I don't know who designs these things, but
Swedish.
I actually did a study for a medical company about the injectors, and I
Okay.
ripped them apart. And I said, I am somebody who does this, every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks to myself. I want something easy to hold with a grip that doesn't hurt. So the Tremfya injector was terrible. I did 3 or 4 of those, same reaction as the Taltz. So my doctor goes, "Look, you're deathly allergic to IL-17 and IL-23 inhibitors." She's like, "Let's try something different." So now I'm on Orencia,
Huh.
and so far so good. I don't want to jinx it.
No.
As you know, we don't want to jinx it. I've been on that for about 6 or 7 months now, and it seems to be working. It's just my left knee gets angry every once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't fill with fluid now. My new thing is, like, I just get really swollen tendons and ligaments
Yeah.
where
Well,
my knee just feels
that's
hot, but there's
psoriasis.
no fluid. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
weird now. So I go for cortisone shots in my left knee actually every 6 months, and it seems to like kind of calm it down a little bit, which is
Mhm.
good. And I can actually walk and stand and teach and work, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
am on the Orencia now, and I'm just hoping it keeps working for me.
So a few questions then. So do you still have the skin psoriasis?
I do.
Yeah.
It's
See, I
actually on my
don't.
face. You can't really see
No,
it, but
you
it's like
can't see
it's
it at
close to my
all.
hairline. I have a
Yeah.
little on the sides of my
I
nose,
have
in my
one spot.
ears.
One spot.
Yeah, there's like weird little spots that I've had for a
Yeah.
while, but like they're in my ear. It's in my ear, behind
Okay.
my ears, and then I have like 1 or 2 spots on my legs or my arms. But I actually go for light therapy.
Okay. Do you find that helps?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have been doing light therapy probably for 15 years now, and
Okay.
yeah, I go like once a week now because my psoriasis isn't too bad. And I stand in like the UVB booth with, light protective um, sunglasses on, and I cover up, my face and everything. And I only reveal those spots where I have psoriasis. And I'm in there for like 4 minutes.
Mm. And it helps.
And it helps so much. I find that, we lack vitamin D as
Yeah.
people who have autoimmune conditions.
Yeah.
The only way I can absorb vitamin D is through light.
You can't take it as a tablet.
My body just doesn't really absorb it that way.
Because I found out by accident that I had no vitamin D at all in my body and I had to go on a massive dose of tablets for 2 years. Now I have to take a high dose every single day. But I was going to go back to something you said about the pain of the injectors because I knew I'm dyspraxic. So I knew if they gave me a syringe and a thing, it would be terrible. It'd be ending up in my eye, in the calf, it would go everywhere. And so I just knew. So the first Humira handheld things that you did every 2 weeks, they went off like a gun, like bang, like this,
Yes,
and they kind of hurt.
they
And
do.
then the methotrexate pills were making me sick. I felt sickly
Hmm.
all the time. I was taking loads of domperidone to stop it. Me being sick, and then the doctors say things like, "Well, you shouldn't be taking too much domperidone." Well, then stop giving me tablets that are making me sick. So then they said, well, let's try you on the injection for the methotrexate and see if that works. And it did. It on the whole, works really well. Now, that injection is totally different. It literally, whereas the Humira, for example, you have to hold it for 30 seconds,
Yes.
the methotrexate, it's like a whisper. You don't even know it's gone in your leg. In fact, the
Mm.
first time I did it, I thought, has that actually done anything? And it took like 5 seconds. Then they brought out a new Humira syringe, and that's much better. It's a much quieter gun. But they did try in England to put everybody on the value. I don't know what would be the equivalent, like a discount, really discount supermarket in the States. What's a discount, like Costco or something? Or no, not Costco.
A discount
Like a really
supermarket,
cheap place, as
like
it's
Like Walmart.
yeah,
Walmart has food places here. Yeah.
yeah, but Walmart like has good quality versions of the drugs. But let's imagine it, where we have like a shops here where they have their own value ranges, and they're just like half the good quality. So they got tried to get all the people on Humira and all the MABs on the looky likeys, and so we were given this dreadful drug. I can't remember what it was called now. Well, first of all, the linking injection was like about God knows how thick, and the noise it made and the pain, and it stopped working. So for the
Oh,
first pain I was
geez.
starting to get, so I said, look, this doesn't work. And they went, well, of course it doesn't work for everyone, so you can have
Mm-hmm.
your mirror back, but we will try you again in a few months. Just say no. Like, oh, okay. But the problem is the Humira was great, and I have been good on it. But then I got for me, what really ruined me, and I don't know if this is going to happen to you because it could, is X amount of years after taking a mirror, started getting a lot of pain in my knees. I was thinking, but they're not swollen, they're not hot, my tendons aren't inflamed. What's going on? I now have the most severe osteoarthritis as well. Which, of
Mm.
course, my rheumatologists just go, oh, well, it's nothing to do with us. Go and see the osteoarthritis people.
Yeah.
You just look at my X-rays, and my knees now. I've walked so long the way I do are fused together. So
Mm.
they're literally, my knee doesn't move from side to side, and all I've got on the outside edge is a bit about, I don't know, this long. No, not even that long. That long. It's the thinnest little bit of gap. That's it.
Wow.
And they're like, how are you still walking? You're like a living, legend type of thing.
Yeah.
With your walking, I can bend my knee 90 degrees. And they're going, you're going to have those knees replaced at some time,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to be in a world of pain. And doctors, if a doctor says it hurts a bit, it hurts a lot. If they say you're going to be in a
Yes.
world of pain, I'm talking universe of pain here. And I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know I don't want to do that because in order to have surgery, people who don't know what this disease is due to you, you have to come off all your meds.
Yes.
And if I have a new knee, if I just had osteoarthritis, yeah, it would be
Mm-hmm.
bad. I'd have to learn to walk properly, but that would be it. But no, because the psoriatic arthritis is going to go, hey, you've been inside my knee. I'm going to flare, flare, flare.
Yes.
And so it's going to be double hell for me. So I'm trying to put it off
Yes.
as long as I can.
Me
It's
too. I'm actually, they're telling me I'm probably going to need a double knee replacement. And I said, you know what? That's something I'll probably do in like 10 years.
Yeah. And then
I'll
they
do
said the
it.
knee only
I'll do
lasts
it.
15 years anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, great, I guess, changes in the different kinds of knee replacements they're doing now.
So
And
I'm
you,
waiting.
yeah, so I think that you almost get like a bionic knee, and we'll be like bionic people in the future, because we're going to be replacing all these parts like we're cars. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to be like a brand new car, but, but that breaks down after a while, and you're going to need to replace certain parts.
I know.
I actually did gel injections into my knees.
Yeah, no, I looked into those, but I heard the results were just nothing great compared to, say, the
So
normal
I
cortisone.
did them for like a year and a half, and I have to say that they were super painful. They're actually more painful than a cortisone shot to me, and I felt like they helped maybe for a little while. It was almost like a band-aid type of thing,
Yeah, yeah,
and it almost creates like this fake lubrication for the joint. It
yes,
almost acts like cartilage or something like that. And I feel like it helped, but again, temporary fix. All these things are
I
temporary.
know.
And we're wearing out, and these medications only do so much, but lucky for me, I've been on them for so long that I think I've really prevented my body from this disease really taking over.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I had access to all these medications. I have access to great doctors. If something doesn't work, I can tell my doctor. We stop it right away. We find another solution. Um, and I feel so bad for people that don't have access to great medical care, don't have money for these biologics. Let's be real. My medications without insurance are like $15,000 a month.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
prices, the retail costs of these medications are insane. So what I tell a lot of people to do is go online. They actually have copay card programs now where you can go online, and the company will actually send you a $0 copay card so you can get the medication for free, which
Oh,
is
wow.
great.
If you've
Yes.
been prescribed it, presumably.
Yes, if
Yeah.
if you have a prescription for it, and your insurance company is denying it, or the cost is like outrageous, let's say it's $500 a month, something like that, you can actually contact some of these biologic companies on their websites, and they will send you copay cards. It's not
Wow.
for all, but
Yeah.
Yeah, some of these medications, yeah, are really expensive.
See, this is interesting. So obviously, we have a national health service here, and thanks to them, I get my medications at the moment for free. However, one thing I cannot get because I've had arthritis for so long, and once I started on the Humira can cause so many things to go wrong with you that I cannot get private medical insurance because they would go, oh, if I get some kind of cancer, for example, they could say, well, it's
Hmm.
being caused by the Humira, so they won't cover me for so many things, and the insurance premiums would be so outrageous high. It's better just
Yeah.
to put some money in an account and just save it up that way because they just won't touch me. So you were clearly lucky that you had insurance from the start, and now it doesn't
Yes.
matter what the ramifications of the medicine are because you're covered.
Yes.
But if you did get a new thing, would they still cover you even though you had the drugs? Would they still cover you for that?
So I think most insurance companies here in the States now are kind of catching on to people. So what they like to do now is play a little game. So let's say I started a medication, it wasn't working for me. And then they're like, okay, well, you have to fail 5 or 6 medications before you can start another one. So this new game now is, hey, oh, Emily has tried like 6 or 7 medications. Now your doctor needs to send that documentation to the insurance company, prove that I failed X, Y, and Z, and now they will approve the next medication. But that could take months.
Yeah.
So my doctor knows like that the insurance companies are playing this game because she's dealing with it with all her patients. So luckily she kind of is ahead of the game. So when they send those letters out, she's already contacted them and said, "Oh, she's failed Taltz, she's failed Tremfya, she's failed methotrexate and Humira and Otezla, and it's really sad that people are being denied constantly and that we have to almost like prove ourselves
Mm.
to these insurance companies. It's ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
like
I
we're
know.
giving blood, sweat, and tears, almost
Yeah.
dying while we're waiting to get approved for these medications. And
It's
like,
it's
I
crazy.
wouldn't. I would never want to be an insurance agent because
No.
that has to be the most miserable job in the world, basically denying people all day long of the treatment they really need.
Unless they're really horrible people, then they might enjoy it. Might be their little bit of
Yeah,
their Caesar.
exactly. They might love it.
In the Colosseum. There's so many things that people don't realise. When you've got, it's not a terminal illness, but it's a non-stop. It's a condition that we live with day in, day out. How
Hmm.
we have to plan our lives. For example, I am going to party A on this night. But if I take Humira, then it's going to plummet my immune system. If anybody is at that party with a cold and they sneeze or cough, I get it, I'm more likely to come down with something which could knock me out for 2 to 3 weeks. So you're constantly playing timings, aren't you? And it is in your brain. Oh, yeah, but if I do that then, and then if I have that then. Like with methotrexate, I'm not some kind of alky by any chance at all. But, sometimes I'll think I really want a drink of something. But I know if I take methotrexate, I can't drink for 48 hours. And I'm one of these people, if I say to myself, you can't do that, Tanya, I'm like wanting to like literally slug from the bottle. I hate
Yes.
denying myself anything because my whole life is one of denial, really.
Hmm.
People, and because unlike yourself, I think we put on this, it's not a face, it's a show. It's having some kind of, is this a pride in ourselves? Is it like we will not be beaten? Are we
Hmm.
strong women that will not be? Because we could be professional ill people. We could say, oh, I just can't get out of bed. I mean, I every day get out of bed. I shower, I eat my breakfast. By the time I've done that, I could so easily go back to bed. But
Yes.
I can't because I have to work. And
Yes.
I'm teaching as well, and you're teaching, and when you're teaching, you're giving out the energy,
Hmm.
the spoon theory. My
Yes.
drawer is empty by 11 o'clock. I've had enough.
Yes. I'm drained after like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like I've had
Yeah.
enough, but you still have to go on, and it's like in the voiceover world, we always say the answer is always fine. How are you?
Hmm.
Fine, because nobody really cares. But it's exactly the same with arthritis. Because
Yes.
unless you're speaking to a fellow roomie, or nobody really gives a shit. Actually,
No
do
one
they?
understands because we don't look sick. This is the
That's it.
thing.
You don't look sick. Yeah,
No,
I know.
psoriatic arthritis is not for the weak, and I tell
It's
everybody
not
that. It's like a roller coaster ride that you can never get off. It is
correct.
a diagnosis you have to live with day in and day out, good, bad, ugly, and it's something that you either going to let it eat you up, eat you alive, or you're going to face it head on and keep going. And
Yeah,
that's why I started the Psoriatic Arthritis Warriors movement, because we are warriors. We get up every single day of our lives and we keep fighting the fight.
Yeah.
And I kind of want that warrior mentality for my followers because I don't want them to feel defeated, sad, alone, isolated, frustrated, stuff like that, because you feel so much depression, anxiety, and fear. Fear, well, what is my life going to look like in the next 10, 15 years? Am I going to be able to work? What does the future look like for psoriatic arthritis? And I really try to keep a positive mindset every day. I try to make a list of things to do. If I get one or two things done, that's a win for me. I
Yeah. Yeah.
celebrate the small wins. The
Yes.
small wins are huge with psoriatic arthritis. And then I tell people, like, you know, if you can just say to yourself, I'm a warrior, I got this, I'm strong, I can do this, you start believing it. And once you start telling yourself that you can do something, even if it feels impossible and you're exhausted and drained and flaring, just do something that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Do
Absolutely.
something for yourself, because the mental health aspect of psoriatic arthritis really isn't talked about a lot.
No, it isn't.
And it really robs you of a normal life. You never get to feel the same as you did. That's one thing that I think everybody deals with, is the identity issue. It's like, who are you now? Like, you're not the same person you were before you were diagnosed. You're different now. You've changed. You've evolved. And I find that psoriatic arthritis has slowed me down in a good way. I look at the world very differently now. Because it has slowed me down, I take my time now getting ready. I take my time doing things. I don't feel rushed anymore, or a constant need to have to get everything done, which I used to be. I was like that kind of person, OCD, I got to get everything done, and it has to be just so. Now I kind of just let things go.
See,
And
I can't do that's I can't do. I envy that because I wish I could do that. I'm one of these people that will keep pushing through because I want to then collapse. It's like when I'm cooking, if people say, "Oh, have a glass of wine while you're cooking." No, because once I do, I won't want to carry on cooking. I want to sit down and do it. So I have to keep
hmm
going and going and going. So I'm like that little engine going up the hill, and then I'm like, ugh. And people always say to me, "My goodness, I saw you an hour ago, and you look terrible. You're lying on the sofa. You had hot water bottles on your knees. You were like the sweat was pouring off you. You didn't. And now look at you." And I go, "Yeah, because that's what I want people to see. I don't want people to see me." And it's not a pride thing actually. It's kind of nobody actually cares. They don't
hmm
really what I look like, what I feel like. And no, if I go on like saying, "Oh guys, this morning I'm going to do a voiceover and it's going to be this, but I feel like this," and my client sees that, they
hmm
then got a loophole. Say, "Yeah, Tanya, she wasn't very good today, was she?" I was because she got. Did you see her video? Did you see? So I've always got to be da and it is a stress. It is a stress. Can I ask you something? Do you ever get angry or feel really angry, or have you, about the things that arthritis has robbed you of?
Yes, I would say that I can't really do certain things that I used to do. Um, I can't drive long distances. I can't go to a concert and stand for 4 hours. Teaching for me is really a challenge. Like, teaching is a very physical job. You're supposed to stand and walk around, and on my good days I could do that. On my bad days I sit and the students come to me, and I feel like it's robbed me of a normal life. Just common everyday things that, no one people normally don't struggle with because they feel good. Even just like people just getting up, going to the gym for 2 hours, lifting
Yeah.
weights. Like, we can't do that. Like, it puts a lot of stress and strain on the joints. And it's good to be active and walk and stuff like that. But some days we could barely walk. We can barely get out of bed. Yeah, oh, stairs? I can't do stairs. I'm not. My doctor's like, no stairs for you. Sorry. So if I go somewhere and they have stairs and there's no elevator, okay, I have to say, all right, white flag here. I'm throwing in the towel. I surrender. I'm angry and frustrated. I can't get to this place because there's no elevator.
Yeah.
And I'm not climbing 5 flights of stairs because I
No,
know my
no, I
knee
couldn't do
is
that.
going to flare up in 2 seconds.
And do you get breathless as well because of all the extra exertion and the medication? I think makes you breathless. I
So I
do.
have some other underlying health conditions.
Mm.
I have hypertension and I have low potassium, hypokalemia, which are caused by an adrenal condition I have called hyperaldosteronism. And I'll just tell you about that really quick. Hyperaldosteronism causes you to have super low potassium. So my body doesn't absorb potassium naturally, and it causes your blood pressure to be insanely through the roof.
Oh.
So my body produces way too much aldosterone, like 6 or 7 times a normal person's does. And I'm actually having surgery in a few months to remove my left adrenal gland
Wow.
because it is so hyperactive and making me sick. So I don't get breathless anymore because I'm on, beta blockers, calcium channel
Yes.
blockers.
Yeah.
I'm on medication that's regulating my blood pressure and my potassium. So I used to get really bad palpitations. I used to
Yeah.
get sweaty and clammy when I was having a low potassium episode. And I would get breathless at times. It'd be hard for me to breathe or exert myself because of the hyperaldosteronism. And we're not really sure if I was born with it, if this was something that I kind of developed over the last, 10, 15 years of my life. But it's something that definitely affects the psoriatic arthritis as well,
Yeah.
because it triggers all kinds of reactions in your organs. And these biologics as well cause a toll on the body.
Yeah.
And
Big
people don't
time.
realize, like, some people's liver enzyme count is insanely off the charts because these medications are so harsh on the liver.
They're very
Our liver
toxic.
is trying to filter all of these toxins out of the body, and it's like in hyperdrive because we're taking basically chemotherapy. That's what I
Well, it
tell
is.
people.
I tell people like it's methotrexate, Humira. They're two types of chemo, and they
Yes.
are. What people don't realize is that we do get really sick. Like you're going to have this operation, you're going to have to come off your whatever the
Yes.
drug you're on now. You may flare as a result of having this operation, and so you've got
Correct.
this to deal with and the flaring. It's such a cruel thing to have. I mean, I
Yes.
think if you are covered in psoriasis and you've got, I mean, and you and I both lucky we're not, and you have the physical, the ailments too.
Mm-hmm.
It is the cruelest thing. It really
Yes.
is. You can't win with it, and it is just, like people like I am naturally a hugger with people I like, and if I go to any voice events or anything like that, I have to say to people, please don't hug me, just do this. And then people forget and they get drunk and they're like, oh Tanya, like get off me. People, I'm sure some people think there's nothing wrong with her. She's just being a cow. But actually, they don't realize, because I get people in the past who've like gone, oh, Tanya, and kiss, kiss. And then I've heard them go, and I go, have you got a cold? And they go, oh, yeah, but I feel fine. Yeah, I'm glad you feel fine. Because you
Mm-hmm.
have a good
Because now you
chance.
just gave me what
Yeah.
you have.
Exactly.
Yes.
And people think you are pretentious. I'm sure that there are people out there who don't know what I go through because I don't really talk about it. I'll be perfectly honest. I'll tell you what, when I used to travel around when I was in my early 20s and work on the road as a voice actor, in the COVID pandemic, I did an interview with somebody and they asked me about had I ever been held back. And I thought, I'm just going to talk about it for the first time. I
Yeah.
had people phoning me up who've known me over 20 years and going, I never knew you had that wrong with you. I never knew that when you finished doing all those sessions, you had to go and lie down in the hotel for about 5 hours and you were so ill. And I went, no, because I didn't want you to know. I don't want to be defined by my illness.
Yes.
And that's what would happen.
Correct.
And that's why when people say to me, oh, you do you have this syndrome? Do you have that? Yes, I do have loads of different syndromes, but I don't need a diagnosis because I've got enough to contend with, thank you.
Yes.
I'm masking all the time. And it's hard,
It's true.
isn't it? Yeah, it is.
It's so hard.
But you do appreciate life a lot better, and it does make you different. I mean, one of my I used to love horse riding. And I have a daughter who horse rides, and nothing would have given me greatest pleasure as she got older to go hacking. And she took me on a horse for my a birthday I had, and this lovely patient horse, and I got on this horse, and even sitting on it, and I knew I couldn't even squeeze it with my knees, and I thought, I'm never going to ride again. Even dancing, I could have danced for hours.
Yeah.
2 dances last night. Now I'm suffering. Walking, I love walking, but it has to be completely flat. I live in Bath. It's cobbled streets, cobbles.
Oh God, that's terrible. I couldn't walk. I wouldn't be able to walk on that. Like I can't walk on the beach. I can't walk on
No
sand.
high heeled
Nope.
shoes. Gone.
Nope.
People say,
Oh
why
my
do you
God.
wear chunky boots? Because
Never.
they're the only things that are actually comfortable for me.
Yes, we have to wear
Yeah.
comfy
Comfy
shoes. Yeah.
Oh, and if they look chunky boots, because actually if you get the platform and the heel just right, they're great. But because I've got arthritis in my toe, I've got a big toe, and it's fine, and then I'll be walking and it will suddenly freeze and I'll go, oh.
Yes.
And or I pull a weed in the garden. This is what annoys me, right? I go up my garden path. Oh, there's a weed. I'm just going to pull it out. Pull. Thumb. That's it. Wrist. Tendon comes up. It's like, can I do nothing?
It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah. And it's
Like your knee, all of a sudden you're feeling great. Your knee gives out. You almost fall down.
Yeah.
You go to do something, your hand starts shaking, or like your finger stops working. Or
Yeah.
again, you said your toe. Like I have lots of issues with my toes, and my feet hate socks. My feet get so hot from the psoriatic arthritis that winter here for me is torture to wear socks and shoes all day because my feet just want to breathe.
Isn't
It
that
like,
interesting? Now, I
yeah.
have to wear socks in bed because my feet get so cold that my toes
Mm.
cramp up. Even if we go into the hottest country, the Caribbean or anything, I'm wearing socks in bed, which is bizarre, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
and also, I tell you the other thing with doctors, like you said, that the doctors don't always realize what side effects. So I've been getting this terrible headaches and pains in my head. Works out occipital neuralgia, which is this big nerve that comes up here. So they inject it in cortisone 3 times a year. And they always give you the whole thing. Do you realize that having cortisone does this to you and this to you? They give you the whole list of things. You're just like, just give
Yes.
me the goddamn shot and
Just do it
get out.
already.
Yeah, you think I don't know? And it's like you do this, and it's not the most comfortable injection, but I'd rather have that than my knees.
Yes.
And when I said to them, do you know that they've done a study that women on Humira are more likely to get occipital neuralgia? Oh, no, we don't know anything about that. Can you find that study for us? Like, do your own bloody work.
We know more than the
We
doctors
do.
do. And it's funny because whenever I'm in the hospital or I'm at a doctor's office, they're like, "Oh, are you in the medical field? Because you seem to know so much." I go,
Yeah.
"Well, I should have been a doctor or a
Yeah.
dermatologist or something at this point because I feel like I know more than the doctors do, or it's like on the job training. I'm telling a nurse how to do an IV in my arm because
Yeah.
I got a couple of good veins left.
Yeah.
Do you find that you can't regulate your body temperature? Do you find that?
No, I'm all over the place. Like I'm
Yes.
hot and I'm cold at the moment, which is quite an interesting feel. My knees are really cold, and my
Mm-hmm.
head is really hot. It's very strange. It
Yeah.
drives me mad. It's like I've got different painkillers for different feelings. So like some days I'll take tramadol. Sometimes I'll take dihydrocodeine with paracetamol. Sometimes I'll have morphine. Sometimes I'll have something else. And they'll go, now you know you can't take these all together, don't you? Oh no, I didn't know that. It's like, do you honestly think I'm an idiot? I've been giving myself medication. I know what works. And they'll say, well, you know that these are addictive. Oh, are they? Okay. I don't care. It
I
drives
don't
me
care.
mad.
Give it to me.
Give it to
Yeah.
me now and make it work and make the pain stop or this feeling stop or, it's
They
terrible.
also feel like I feel like they judge us if, sometimes doctors don't believe us. I feel like doctors are constantly, you know, ignoring patients' needs and wants. And that's why I told you in the beginning here, as soon as you get diagnosed, you have to advocate for yourself and find those doctors that take you seriously, are not gaslighting you, that listen, they empathize with you, and they understand that we are the experts. The
Yeah.
patients are the experts.
Yeah.
Jamie, um, I think it was, who was it that said it? Michael J. Fox said it. He said, the patients are the experts,
Yeah.
not the doctors. We're the ones living with the condition. We know best. We know our bodies. We know what works, what doesn't work. And I always tell people with psoriatic arthritis, like, what works for me is not going to work for you.
Yeah.
And don't be frustrated if I'm doing great on, this medication and you're not doing well on
Yeah.
it, because our bodies are like really sensitive to these medications. And like I told you, I'm allergic to the IL-17 and IL-23 inhibitors. I would have never known unless I tried them. So people, I think, almost accept the fact, okay, I'm on this medication, maybe it's not working, and then they just stick with it, even if it's not working. And I tell them, no, you have to speak up and say something. Like, if it's not working for you, stop it and go on something else. Like, don't
Yeah.
think that your doctor is going to judge you or not believe you. Like, you really have to speak up. And
You do.
I think a lot of people are afraid to, almost. Some
Oh,
of them are
yeah.
scared.
Well, because they're brought up to think the doctor knows best. I think the thing is, it's like with me having the osteoarthritis as well. They're like, well, that's your osteo, not your psoriatic, so we can't really do anything. And that's annoying because if we think there's not a lot of drugs, well, there is a lot of drugs for psoriatic, we're lucky, but there's nothing for osteo. I mean,
Yeah.
osteoarthritis, who cares, And it does feel frustrating because, I have been on Humira for all these years and I very rarely get inflammation, but it doesn't mean I don't get pain. And they say that, can it help with osteo? We don't know,
Hmm.
and it's just endless. So I wanted to ask you, we're talking about medications, talking about different effects. We're at a dinner party and you happen to tell me, oh, I've got arthritis. And I say this to you, oh, have you tried wearing a copper bracelet?
I laugh. Okay, I laugh if someone says, "Oh, have you tried the anti-inflammatory diet? Have
Yeah,
you tried yoga?
the
Have you
nightshade
tried
diet.
have you tried meditation? Have you tried this and that?" And I look at them and I go, "Are you my doctor? Do you know what's best for me? Are you me? No."
I
So
say, yeah, I don't say that. I just say some things like, do you know, I'd never thought of that. I'll give it a go. Or I have said on a more spiky moment, if copper bracelets worked, I would be walking around in a copper suit of armor, trust me. But it's just
yeah,
the way they think that, like, they'll say, or I get a bit of rheumatism in my knee. Do you? Oh, what a shame.
what a pity.
Yeah.
What a pity.
It's
Like,
like,
oh,
oh.
I'm so sorry. Exactly. Like people don't understand. And I've had friends even judge me. They're no longer my friends, but I had a friend once that was like, "Oh, I want to go on this ski trip and, are you going to come?" And I look at her and I go, "Are you kidding me? Like
I'd
me in skis?" I was like, "That's a
twist,
death
twist.
sentence."
Yeah, just a death
I'm like
sentence.
I'm like I probably would die if I went skiing right now,
Yeah.
And she like just didn't get it and was like, "Oh, you're no fun. Like I can't believe you can't go
She said,
skiing
you're
or whatever." And
no
I go, "You know what?
fun.
You're not my friend anymore.
No.
Nope, don't
The
need you in
thought,
my life."
my knees, the thought of going this and like this
Yeah,
is like
forget it.
going, are you serious? No.
No.
I had loads of people put up on things online, like things like, oh, taking the new weight loss drug, I can now walk 5 miles and all this. Can you? But what about if you had arthritis and you find it hard
Mhm.
to lose weight because you can't go to the gym because
Yes.
putting pressure on your knees and things like, and on your elbows, because I've got it in my elbows, on my wrists, everywhere, because obviously I didn't have those drugs early on, unfortunately, sadly. And I go, but I can't do those things. So for me, it's like I eat, believe it or not. I'm an average size, but I eat very little because I'm very rarely hungry. Do you find the injections they do that? Your hunger is just. I don't know what I want to eat half
Yes.
the time because it does say with Humira can cause anorexia. I was like, really? Why? I don't quite. But I understand now because sometimes I think I should eat something. What do I want to eat?
Yeah.
I don't know what I
Sometimes
want
I
to eat.
find myself to be really nauseous after the injections.
Yeah,
It depends on the time of day. It depends,
it depends on
I
so many
guess.
factors.
Yeah, like I find that some of the medications, like methotrexate, I was nauseous all the time.
Oh yeah, I am. That's why I
I
switched
was
to it.
like, my stomach would be killing me. And then some of the medications would cause like really bad gastro issues. And,
Yep.
I'd be in the bathroom constantly. And, some of the medications caused me to bloat and,
Oh yeah.
retain water. And now, luckily, I'm on a really good routine. I drink a ton of water during the day. I'm able to do that. I'm not retaining fluid. I just find that it all depends on the medication and the side effects. And like sometimes I'll be starving, and then sometimes I feel like I need a little snack every 3 hours. I need a little
Yeah.
something. I also find that we're not only are sensitive to temperature and weather changes, but we're also sensitive to certain foods, hot
Yeah.
versus cold, and something that's hard versus something that's soft to eat. Because you have it in your jaw, I
Yeah, I
have
do.
it in
Yeah.
my jaw as
Yeah.
well.
Here.
I can't chew gum anymore. I
No.
love gum, and like I'll chew gum for 5 minutes now, and I'm like, oh my god, my jaw
I did
feels like
that
it's gonna
last night.
break. I'm like, oh my god, my jaw is gonna snap off. Or I go to the dentist, and they're like, oh, you have
Oh,
six
I hate
cavities.
that. When you have to open your
They're
mouth
like,
really
oh,
wide and you're like, it really
yeah, I'm like,
hurts.
I can't open my mouth anymore. And I'm like, I have arthritis. Or I'll be like, I go to the dentist and they're like, oh, you have six cavities all of a sudden. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it's got to be the medication. The medication is
Make
like
sure. Yeah.
destroying, yeah, it's destroying everything, like from our eyesight to our teeth, like things that people don't think about. Like psoriatic arthritis impacts so much. It's not just arthritis. It's not just
No.
psoriasis. Like it's all encompassing. It's like in your face. It hits you like a ton of bricks. And people are like, oh my God, what do I do? And they message me on Instagram and they're like, I'm newly diagnosed. I'm 20 years old. What do I do? Where do I start? And then it's like I'm almost like this guide for them, like the spirit guide. I feel like, and like some people thank me so much for my positivity and my posts. Like I'm just real with people. Like this is how it is. These are what the treatments are like. Like you're gonna feel like crap for a few days. Like you're gonna be frustrated and angry. Like I try not to sugarcoat anything. Like if I'm getting my knee drained, I'm gonna take a video of it because I want people to see this is what we deal with. This
Now
is what
you do some great videos, I
yeah,
have to
I
say.
want to be almost like a spokesperson for everyone because I feel like people get diagnosed, their family doesn't believe them, their spouses don't believe them, their friends, and they go, okay, look at Emily's page. This is what psoriatic arthritis looks like.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is what it feels like. Okay, we look great, we look fine, we go to work every day, we hang out with our friends, we go to family
We look
events, but
glamorous.
yeah, we look great. And then like when they actually ask, how are you doing? Oh, I feel horrible today. Like, I'm having one of the worst days ever. My knee is on fire. I can barely walk, but I look great.
Yeah. Well, my
Cheers.
compadre Alicia, she'll see me. I'll go out and she'll see me looking. She'll say, okay. I'll go, oh, I feel really awful today. I'm like, this is that, and I don't feel right. And then I'll go, right, well, I better go and do a voiceover job. Hi, everybody. And it's like this it's a constant pressure and stress. But without it, I just, I've had times when I've had to stay in bed maybe for a little bit longer than I would. For me, sometimes worse than the pain is the fatigue, because I am the worst person in the world that should have had arthritis. But it probably made me a nicer person, because with my drive and ambition, I'd have probably been like the female equivalent of the Emperor Ming, from Flash Gordon. I would have been like ruling the planet or something terrible. I'd have been awful. So I had to have something to slow me down. I wish it hadn't been this, but and so I am a lot more tolerant, but I'm also very intolerant. If somebody says to me, oh, I get a bit of a twinge in my knee, or it's like somebody who suffers from cluster headaches, getting people say, oh yeah, I get a bit of a headache. It's not the same. And people do not take things serious, as I say, with the copper bracelets and the stupid diets, Oh,
Yes.
do you eat nightshade foods? I don't even know what that is. Why don't you do cycling? Yeah, because my knees really bend like that. I can do that.
I like when people go, why don't you go swimming in a
Oh,
pool? Oh, because
swimming. The
because
water's too
because
cold.
all of the chemicals in the pool cause my skin to react,
Yeah.
and I can't be in the pool.
And
So
unless I'm in a pool that's like 85 degrees or whatever, really, really hot, I can't go, because as soon as my joints hit cold water, I'm like a cat.
yes, yes, yes.
That's it. I'm out of there. And I hate swimming anyway. Not with this hair. You can't have this hair and swim.
No, you can't have this hair in the water. No, no, come on. Let's be real.
You gotta have
I'll dip my foot
something.
in and that's it. I'm
Yeah,
good.
that's it. I mean, it's just the amount of things that people come up. So I am so glad that you have your page and you are so positive and you do show all the horrible side of it. I don't, because as I say, I'm very lucky. I get because my knees have got hardly any gap in them. They inject me under sedation. They have to knock me out, because otherwise they couldn't get a needle in. It would be inhumane, because there's nothing to get any. So they're not getting fluid. They're not getting fluid out. There's no fluid in there. They're just literally.
I'll give you some fluid from my knee.
Yeah. Well, I've had enough in my life.
Let's do a fluid transfer. I'll give you
I
some.
never want it again. No. But no, seriously, it's, you do a great thing. And I really want people to follow you. And, as I say, you have always, I thought you were such an inspiring person, which is why I thought, no, I'm going to do a few different Tanya Talks, not about voiceover, to people I admire. And you, Emily, are one of them.
Thank you so much. I admire you too, fellow warrior.
Hey, we should have we got any badges? Do you have badges? Do you have any merch?
I definitely need to make some merch. I was thinking about it for sure. Start the psoriatic arthritis merch.
Well,
Psoriatic arthritis warriors merch store. I should definitely do that.
You should do that, and I would wear it with pride. Pride.
Love that.
Actually, we should tell the listeners, right? I don't know about you, but when I said to Emily, I said, I'm like the duck. So at the top of me, I look fairly put together. What only Emily knows, I'm now going to tell everybody who's watching this, I'm actually in my pajamas and my slippers, because as soon as we finish this, I feel so sickly, believe it or not. I'm going back to bed. Yeah, I've got some like anti-sick pills. I'm going back to bed. But, I wanted to do this interview so very much. And that's why I'm here, turning up like we do.
Yes, this is what we do. We show up, we turn up, and we keep going. And I can't stress it enough, but we have to just keep fighting the good fight.
Yes, we do.
And not let psoriatic arthritis define who we are.
No.
We're incredible people. We're warriors. Everybody has a story to tell. Share your story.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to share your story. You never know who you're inspiring. You never know who you're helping with your fight. Yeah. And that's huge with any medical condition, is you become the expert. You can educate others. You can educate doctors. My doctors now tell me I inspire them to treat their patients, because I'm doing so well on certain medications. And they're like, you've really been an inspiration to me because you're doing so well on this medication with this. My cardiologist tells me all the time when he sees me, you are a true inspiration to me. You've helped me diagnose and treat so many patients just because I see you doing so well. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm making a difference. Whether it's small or big, whether it's, one person I'm helping or many. I just feel like we really need to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, obviously follow Emily. You are at Psoriatic?
I am at Psoriatic Arthritis Warriors
Warriors.
on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I also have a link tree that's on my Instagram page that it contains all kinds of interviews and advocacy work that I do for all of us warriors. And I actually am a writer now for WebMD. So I write blog posts about psoriatic arthritis.
Amazing.
So you can read all of those posts on my link tree on Instagram.
Brilliant. And obviously, you know, I mean, if there's anybody in the UK that thinks, but it's a bit different in the UK, you want to find out how to get help with the NHS, then contact me. You can find me at Tanya Rich, VO, V for victory. Victory.
Warrior victory.
Yeah, and I think we should get that merch going, Emily, because as I say, I think most people would be proud to wear it. Finally, as you're so in with your GPs or doctors, any chance you can get them to find a cure for the terrible fatigue?
You know, I've asked them about it, and you know, one thing I do to help combat the fatigue is I actually take vitamin B12 daily now.
Me too.
And I find that actually really helps me in the morning. Because I'm not allowed to have a lot of caffeine because of all the heart stuff I have going on. So I try to limit my caffeine, but I find that the vitamin B12 does help, and so do naps.
Yes,
you know, power naps are great.
I have I'm one of these people who can't switch my mind off, so it's a whole nother story. However, I will tell people the thing that I have found that has given me energy is cordyceps.
What's that?
They're cordyceps mushrooms. They're capsules.
Oh.
There's a really good one that I use. 2 in the morning. Within 48 hours, I guarantee you'll have more energy than you thought possible, and you'll still get to sleep at night. They're perfectly legal. They sell them on Amazon. If anybody's interested, I can make sure the link. I mean, I'm not getting anything out of this, by the way. I'm not being sponsored by these people, although if you want to send me a load, please do. You know, and yeah, cordyceps mushrooms, cordyceps, CORDECEPS, I think.
Okay.
But I can send you the link to the one I buy. It'd be interesting actually for you to try that, because tell me if it makes a difference to you.
I'll definitely try them.
I do vitamin B12 too, but I don't know if it does anything for me. So that's why I went on to cordyceps. So yeah, I'll send you the link. Thank you for
definitely
being a delightful guest.
I've loved talking to you.
I've loved talking to you too. And whereabouts are you? In New York, right? Or...
I am on Long Island in New York.
Oh, how lovely.
Well, it's great to be surrounded by water when there's humidity everywhere. And, you know, humidity doesn't really go with psoriatic arthritis. I need to live in the desert.
Yes, the damp is dreadful.
I'm gonna retire to the desert.